1881. Today is the official birthday of Her Majesty the Queen, when she takes the salute on Horse Guards parade at the annual ceremony of Trooping the Colour. The commentator is Tom Fleming.
"50 years ago, for the first time, BBC television cameras were permitted by His Majesty King George VI as an experiment to be here at Horse Guards to show the ceremony of Trooping the Colour. The commentator was John Snagg. The experiment must have worked, for here we are. The scene has altered astonishingly little, except that our pictures in colour go all over these islands, live to West Germany and Austria, in a few days' time to Belgium, Sweden and Switzerland, and to British forces in Cyprus and the Falkland Islands. We greet them all. For only the 9th time in the regiment's history, the colour to be trooped belongs to the 1st Battalion Irish Guards. The Queen's colour is in the keeping of Sergeant Moffat. 8 guards already on parade. As 3/4 of a mile away, outside Buckingham Palace, Sovereign's escort of household cavalry awaits the Queen to accompany Her Majesty to the parade in honour of her official birthday. Her real birthday is, of course, in April. The procession of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. A royal salute for the Queen Mother, who's dressed in green with the Princess of Wales, also in green, and little Prince William, soon to be 6 years of age. His birthday is the 21st of June. Driving in a barouche pulled by 2 greys, Montreal and Peter. And she's now driving up the Mall to Horse Guards, Mall lined by 400 guardsmen of the Grenadier, the Welsh and the Irish Guards. 6 paces between and 12 inches out from the curb. And on Horse Guards, already 955 men are on parade. For the first time since 1973, all 5 regiments of Foot Guards are providing the 8 guards. The escort and number 2 guard are found by the 1st Battalion Irish Guards, buttons in force. On the first St. Patrick's Day, after founding the regiment, their first colonel, the Earl Roberts of Kandahar, BC, presented them with Shamrock at Wellington Barracks. His horseful pony doesn't seem to fancy the press photographers. As the battalion was about to be dismissed, a lifeguards orderly turned up with boxes of Shamrock from Queen Alexandra. The Royal Shamrock replaced the colonel's, and ever since, a royal lady has given Shamrock on St. Patrick's Day. Lord Robert's sword is on parade today, and there is a plume of St. Patrick's blue in every Irish Guardsman's bearskin. Number 3 guard, about to open for the arrival of the present royal benefactor, the Queen Mother, is found by the 2nd Battalion Grenadier Guards, regular buttons and a white plume to the left of the bearskin. Numbers 4 and 5 guards are found by the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards, who have buttons in 3s and no plume on the bearskin. And number 6 guard around the corner is found by the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, formed in 1915, buttons in fives as the 5th Regiment of Foot Guards, and a white, green and white plume to the left of the bearskin. Number 7 and 8 Guards are found by the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards, buttons in twos, although second to none, and a red plume to the right of the bearskin. And in front of the Downing Street garden wall, the massed bands of all 5 regiments and the corps of drums of the battalions on parade, the 2nd Battalion Grenadier Guards, the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards and the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, with the pipes and drums of the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards and the drums and pipes of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards. 360 musicians. Meanwhile, back along the Mall at Buckingham Palace, the next procession is setting out for Horse Guards. Her Majesty the Queen in the ivory-mounted phaeton, greeted by a royal salute. The Queen's phaeton drawn by Twilight and Cardiff, and the Queen's head coachman is in full state Castilian livery, Arthur Schoen, a former rough riding sergeant with the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. That is, he trained new riders and broke in new horses. The Queen, rather lonely figure, waving to the crowds outside Buckingham Palace and all along the 3/4 of a mile drive to Horse Guards Parade. On each side of the Queen's carriage, the Crown Equerry and her equerry in waiting, and the royal colonels behind, 3 royal colonels on parade today. So as one procession follows another along the Mall, so we see the field officer in brigade waiting, Commanding Officer of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Wilson, who is in charge of this morning's parade. Celebrated his 42nd birthday a week and a day ago. Joined the army when he was 18. The Guards have sloped arms as the Queen Mother's procession approaches along the approach road. 2 barouches. And she will be greeted as the barouche turns from under the Commonwealth flags and onto the parade ground by a royal salute. The outriders are Ray Maguire and Nigel Day, on the horses Oscar and Kathleen. Exciting occasion for Prince William. He was here a couple of days ago for the beating of retreat by the Royal Marines. And so that's a sight we always look forward to, the arrival of the Queen Mother on Horse Guards. A sight that awaits us for the first time on the birthday parade this year is the revised arms drill with the new SA Small Arms 80 rifle, now to be employed by all three services. 3 rifles have been used by the Army since the Second World War. First, the Lee Enfield Mark IV, familiar to all old national servicemen. The SLR, or self-loading rifle, which replaced it in 1960, and the new SA-80, designed with efficiency in combat in mind and not ceremonial drill. Arms drill we haven't seen on the Queen's birthday parade for 29 years. The slope arms from the order gave way with the SLR to shoulder arms.
Shoulder!
Regimental Sergeant Major Vince McKellen, Irish Guards, addresses the problems of the new rifle at the first trooping rehearsal at Chelsea Barracks in April.
Right, relax, look this way. Right, this morning we start our rehearsals for the Queen's birthday parade. Now, for those people who haven't done the parade before, you will find it physical, demanding, and requiring a lot of personal stamina as far as you are concerned. This is the first time that we do the Queen's birthday parade using the SA-80, which is added stress basically because of the bulkiness of the weapon, which you have already found out. Now, because of this, we are introducing 2 new movements to the Queen's birthday parade. There will be the change arms from the shoulder at the halt, and there will be the change arms both in slow and in quick time from the slope. Right, look to your front. Rifles at the shoulder. Right, cut me, Sergeant Major. And rifle exercises at the halt. Here we go. Good! Good! Shoot! Rifle exercises! Judging the time! Charge! Halt! Charge! Halt! Stop! Halt!
Yes, the slope arms is back. Not only is the SA-80 rifle heavier than the SLR, it's also shorter, so the butt can't be rested on the ground. In the birthday parade, the weight will be carried for over 3 hours. So, not only at the halt, but on the march past in slow and quick time, it has been necessary to invent a change arms drill.
Right! Sir! Left! Form! Away!
The medal position on the tunic has been centered slightly to lessen wear and tear.
Toes downwards and outwards. Now pick your knees up.
And for the same purpose, the prominent optical sight, giving 4 times magnification, has been given a black plastic cover. Well, that was all 6 or 7 weeks ago. A few weeks later, and a dress rehearsal for the mass bands. On these 2 men lies a considerable weight of responsibility for the smooth running of the parade. The Senior Director of Music, Guards Division, Lieutenant Colonel Mick Lane, Irish Guards, is giving a few worthwhile tips to the new Senior Drum Major of the division, Drum Major Ray Davis, Grenadier Guards, who will have memorized the complicated sequence and will be giving the critical orders to the mass bands for the first time this year on the birthday parade.
We may well have to cut the music during that if the escort has reached their position. After we've played Present to the Colour, when we've halted, he turns around and then he gives you the signal to cut the music before they present arms. So that's another one that could be tightened up a bit.
Well, today, all the weeks of rehearsal bear fruit. Today, practice must make perfection, and here's a perfect sight. As the brigade Major of the Household Division, Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Erskine Crum, Scots Guards. First Scots Guards Brigade Major for 31 years. The last was his father, who died in 1971 when he was General Officer commanding Northern Ireland. Accompanied by 4 troopers of the Blues and Royals and the massed mounted bands behind, ride along the approach road of Horse Guards. This horse is called Santana. Mounted bands of both the squadrons of Household Cavalry Majesty the Queen in the ivory mounted phaeton. It was made for Queen Victoria by Barker and Company in London. A huge cheer from the crowds in St James's Park. It was built in 1842, the year Queen Victoria also tried another new form of transport, the railway from Windsor to Paddington. Sight, nearly 200 horses. 3 royal colonels behind. Grand Duke of Luxembourg, Colonel of the Irish Guards, the Duke of Edinburgh, who's Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, and the Prince of Wales, who's Colonel of the Welsh Guards. The Duke of Kent is in Australia with his wife. The horses of drawing the phaeton wearing state saddlecloths of the Irish Guards. The Queen, of course, can wave to the crowd and smile and do all sorts of things that she could not do in uniform. She now turns onto the square in front of the crowds before the old Admiralty building and behind number 6, 7 and 8 guards. The crowds all stand for Her Majesty, who looks relaxed and happy. She is, of course, Colonel-in-Chief of all the 7 regiments of the Household Division. And today she's particularly riding in her capacity as Colonel-in-Chief of the Irish Guards. Queen's head coachman since 1969, Arthur Showell, salutes the Queen's colour. The Queen Mother's guests up at the window of the Horse Guards building include the King and Queen of Jordan this morning. Princess of Wales we've seen arriving with her, the Princess Margaret, and the son, Viscount Linley, Princess Alice, Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, and their 2 children, Prince and Princess Michael of Kent, their 2 children, and Princess Alexandra and the Honourable Angus Ogilvy. Queen Mother acknowledges the arrival of her daughter. As the Queen arrives at the saluting base, she will dismount and mount the steps of the dais to be greeted on her birthday parade by the first royal salute. The rest of the Queen's procession halt wherever they have reached. And now the first greeting of Her Majesty the Queen. So in Green Park, the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery began firing its 41-gun salute exactly at 11 o'clock to mark Her Majesty's official time. It will take just under 7 minutes to complete, 10 seconds between rounds. Meanwhile, on the Horse Guards, the guards have shouldered arms. The Queen has returned to her carriage, and the first part of the birthday parade begins, the inspection of the line. Escorted by the Brigade Major, Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Erskine Crum, Scots Guards on St. Anna, and 4 troopers of the Blues and Royals, accompanied by senior officers, including the colonels of 6 of the 7 Household Division regiments, by officers of her household. The Queen will drive past the massed bands and then turn right along the line of 8 guards. This is the first of the 5 parts of the parade. After the inspection of the guards and the Sovereign's escort behind, there follows the troop in which the massed bands countermarch in slow and quick time. Then, after the collection of the colour by the escort, comes the 3rd part of the parade, trooping the colour through the ranks, followed by the march past in slow and quick time by the foot guards, and lastly the walk and trot pass by the Sovereign's escort of household cavalry, included as an integral part of the parade only since the first trooping of the Queen's reign in 1952. A proud day for the Grand Duke of Luxembourg. It's his regiment, the regiment of which he's colonel, the regiment in which he served, that is on parade today. 1st Battalion Irish Guards, which provides the escort number 2 guard, have been stationed in Chelsea Barracks on public duties for the last 2 years. They go to Belize in October for 6 months and then to Berlin in 1990. The Micks pride themselves in being a family regiment. Almost a third of those in parade have relatives who've served or are serving in the regiment. 25 of over 10 years service with the battalion. And the senior director of music is a Mick, Lieutenant Colonel Mick Lane, and he's arranged the familiar tunes played by the mass bands to accompany the inspection under the title Paddy's Songs, the Guards' memorial behind. She has passed the 2nd Battalion Grenadier Guards, the regiment of which she was colonel when she first attended this parade, now the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards. When that same battalion was to troop its King's colour in 1948, the parade was cancelled because of bad weather, cleared up, of course, at 10 o'clock. The subaltern of the escort was to be Lord Ogilvy, now the Earl of Airlie, the Lord Chamberlain, and the ensign chosen to carry the colour was his brother, the Honourable Angus Ogilvy, watching today with his wife, Princess Alexandra. Now she passed the Welsh Guards. Prince of Wales succeeded his father as colonel of the Welsh Guards in St David's Day in 1975, exactly 60 years after this battalion first mounted the King's Guard at Buckingham Palace. And 90% of number 7 and 8 guards are on this parade for the first time, found by the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards, recently returned from 2 years in Hong Kong. The 2nd Battalion is serving in Cyprus. First time since 1973 that all the regiments of Foot Guards have found the 8 guards, and it may be next century before this happens again. And so Her Majesty turns the corner of the parade, and the Queen is followed by the 3 Royal Colonels, the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince of Wales. The Duke of Edinburgh, of course, had his real birthday yesterday. He was 67. Duke of Luxembourg on his left. The Gold Stick in Waiting, Master of the Horse, the new Crown Equerry and the Equerries in Waiting, the Colonel of the Coaching Guards and the Colonel of the Life Guards, the Major General commanding the Household Division, Major General Christopher Airy, Silver Stick in Waiting, Colonel Andrew Parker Bowles, the ADC to the Major General, and in the cocked hat, the Chief of Staff, Colonel Malcolm Havergal. So now Her Majesty turns round the corner behind numbers 5 and 6 guards for the inspection of the Sovereign's escort. And the quick march is the Blackthorn, composed by Lieutenant Colonel Mick Lane, commemorating the Blackthorn stick carried by officers of the Irish Guards. three royal princes salute the sovereign standard of the Blues and Royals. Now past the two drum horses and the massed mounted bands. And round past the Major of the parade, Major Dick Bradford, Coldstream Guards. His grey is called Gary Owen, a veteran grey gelding, 19 years old, on his 11th Queen's Birthday parade. So there, the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, who is Colonel of the Irish Guards. He served with the Irish Guards in the ranks and then was commissioned in 1943, fought with the Guards Armour Division until the capture of Brussels. The Major General, Christopher Airy, CBE, General Officer commanding London District and Major General commanding the Household Division since February 1986, on a horse called Billy Ruffin, black gelding. He's 14 years old, and he bites. Gold stick in waiting this morning is General Sir Desmond Fitzpatrick, Colonel of the Blues and Royals. Master of the horse, of course, is the Earl of Westmoreland. The new Crown Equerry is Lieutenant Colonel Gilbert Denham, former commanding officer of the Household Cavalry. And they take up their positions in front of the Horse Guards building. Her Majesty the Queen has left the carriage, which now is taken to the courtyard of the old Admiralty building to await her departure. And now comes the musical display by the mass bands, the troop in slow and quick time. The bands of all 5 regiments of Foot Guards are on parade. The corps of drums of the battalions finding the 8 Guards. The splendid uniforms. And the 5 drum majors are in state clothing. Gold tunic, gold fringed crimson aprons, white gaiters, thin gold garters. The Guards change arms. And now he will give the command, the field officer. Troop, there will be 3 drum beats and a chord before the bands move off in slow time to the traditional tune used since 1869, the Huguenots by Meyerbeer. Ray Davis gives the command, and the quick march is Colonel John, a new march composed by the Senior Director of Music of the Guards Division, Lieutenant Colonel Mick Lane, incorporating Luxembourg tunes in honour of the Irish Guards 7th Colonel, Grand Duke John. Sergeant Lum signed on as a junior guardsman 12 years ago and joined the Battalion Corps Drums at Windsor at the beginning of 1978. He has detached himself from the mass bands and is marching to a position to the right of the marker for the escort. When the mass bands stop playing, he will beat a drummer's call. This is the signal by tradition for the officers to take post and the collection of the colour by the escort to take place in preparation for the central solemn ceremony of trooping the colour through the ranks. Lance Sergeant Lum marches off to resume his position in the mass bands and orderly marches across the approach road to take the pace stick from the Sergeant Major of the escort, Regimental Sergeant Major Vincent McKellen, freeing his hand to draw his sword, the only occasion on which a warrant officer does this on parade. So the field officer, Lieutenant Colonel Wilson, has given the command for the escort to slope arms, the rest of the parade change arms, and then stand at ease. The captain of the escort, Major Sheridan, moves to the right of number 2 guard, and the subaltern, by tradition, takes command of the escort to collect the colour from the front of number 7 guard. Gives the command in close order, left dress. Captain Peter Gibbs now stands in front of the escort for the colour, as it's called at this time, and when the heads have rippled to the front, the escort will be ready to march off.
Escort for the colour, by the left, quick march!
Tune is the British Grenadiers, used by all right flank or grenadier companies of British infantry regiments. When the escort have changed direction with left form, they will mark time until the left guide, Company Quartermaster Sergeant Welsh, signals to Captain Gibbs that the massed bands have cleared the line of march. as Captain Gibbs crosses the central roadway. He's looking for the small white marker stone 15 paces from the colour party, where he will halt the escort. Yes.
Call the colour! In open order! Right! Good!
The escort dresses once again in open order. The mass bands will about turn, and the rest of the parade will be called to attention, change arms and slope arms to witness the handing over of the colour. So the Guards have sloped arms, and on his last day as a warrant officer, Regimental Sergeant Major McKellen marches with drawn sword. He joined the Irish Guards 21 years ago, was the Battalion Light Heavyweight Champion in 1969, was a drill sergeant, colour sergeant instructor at Sandhurst, and is being commissioned tomorrow. He picks up the ensign, Second Lieutenant Stephen Seagrave, with the white colour belt over his shoulder, and halts so that the ensign is 9 paces from Sergeant Moffat with the colour. Sergeant Major salutes the colour before taking possession of it from Sergeant Moffat. Sergeant Moffat takes the rifle which has been brought to him by an orderly and transfers it to his right arm before sloping arms. Now the ensign in turn will salute the colour. And when he has sheathed his sword, will receive the colour from the Sergeant Major. Then he will about turn to show the colour to what at this moment becomes the escort to the colour. And as the escort presents arms, the 4 NCOs at the flanks turn outward and port arms to symbolise the protection of the colour. Escort to the colour, slope arms. The mass bands turn about, and Second Lieutenant Seagrave, the Sergeant Major and the colour party take their places in the escort. Regimental Sergeant Major McKellen and Sergeant Moffat halting together at the rear. The slow march is escort to the colour. escort into position to begin trooping the colour through the ranks while the mass bands perform their most singular drill movement, the spin wheel. Wheeling is not an easy exercise at the best of times, even with a small body of men. With 360 musicians, all carrying and most playing instruments, it's fairly impossible. So the mass bands pivot at the centre, with those in the middle marking time or even stepping backward, those in the perimeter or in the suburbs, I've heard it called, stepping it out fairly briskly. The Garrison Sergeant Major has ensured by many rehearsals in the Barrack Square that on this the day all will be well. And about turn by the half nearest Horse Guards arch has brought the mass bands into perfect formation. The legendary spin wheel has come to its spectacular conclusion, and the music will cut out briefly so that the other 7 guards can present arms before the Queen's colour of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards is trooped to the traditional Grenadiers' slow march. Army Order 77, dated the 1st of April 1900, read thus: Her Majesty the Queen, having deemed it desirable to commemorate the bravery shown by the Irish regiments during the operations in South Africa in the years 1899 to 1900, has been graciously pleased that an Irish regiment of Foot Guards be formed to be designated the Irish Guards. Volunteers came from other Guards regiments, from Irish regiments, directly from Ireland. By the 20th of September 1900, the 1st Battalion was constituted. By 1901, they were serving in the Boer War. The first battle honour on their colour was won in France in the Great War, only 14 years after the regiment's formation. This ceremony of trooping the colour far predates the Irish Guards. For 300 years, each battalion in the British Army has had its colours, which had to be recognised by all ranks. It became the custom to lodge the colours at night. The colours hanging from a doorway or a window in a strange town marked the location of the battalion headquarters. In the morning, the colour was paraded with honour to its place in the assembled troops. The colours came to signify the ongoing life of the regiment, to be defended and treasured and respected. Behind the Guards Memorial to the memory of the 19,000 Guardsmen who fell in the 2 World Wars. A regimental wreath beneath each tin-helmeted Guardsman. A reminder of the ongoing courage and dedication, which gives the outward ceremonial we're watching today a deeper meaning to all those who take part in this parade. The escort, as they approach number 2 guard, carefully keep closed up and covered off so that they can resume their position to the right of the line, advance and present arms without having to redress after they halt. The captain of the escort, Major Tony Sheridan, rejoins the escort to the colour as it passes him and will resume command.
Escort to the colour. Present. Out. Stand. Go. Out.
The guards slope arms and the household cavalry slope swords. The officers take post and the colour moves to the rear of the escort. Numbers 1 to 5 guards will now turn about. The adjutant, Captain Stopford, on interlude, de Grey, has trotted along to cover the guides and will give the command, steady. And this right form at the halt is the first movement for numbers 2 to 5 guards for almost an hour. The arms have moved, but the legs have, well, not visibly bent at the knees in all that time. The circulation returns, the lower limbs relish the exercise, and there's a change of scene as the breeze from St. James's Park hits what remains of the brow under the fringes of the bearskin caps. When the right form is complete, numbers 1 to 5 guards will about turn. Numbers 6, 7 and 8 guards round the corner in front of the ivory-covered citadel in the old Admiralty do a different drill movement so as to keep column distance when the march past begins. They form threes. If these last 3 guards formed up in divisions before the corner, there'd be a gap in the parade. But as now, there will be none, and the great march past begins. The march past in slow time, and the fact that the 5 regiments are all on parade today is acknowledged in the music. The first two sleigh marches are Belle Isle for the Grenadier Guards and My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose to honour the Scots Guards. Officer and Brigade Waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Wilson, joined the army when he was 18. He's leading the barge pass, he's riding in Launceston. He was commissioned 6 months later and immediately saw 2 years active service in Borneo as a platoon commander. He read law at University College, London, sponsored by the army, and graduated in the summer of 1971. Major of the parade, Major Dick Bradford, Coldstream Guards. Gary Owen rides behind the field officer. He wants to mark time too. So the Guards now move forward past Her Majesty the Queen, who stands, and the slow march of the Irish Guards. Let Erin remember. Colour of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards, presented only 2.5 weeks ago by Her Majesty the Queen at Buckingham Palace. Crimson silk, royal cipher within the collar of the most illustrious Order of St. Patrick, from which hangs the badge of the Order, and above the imperial crown. And and on either side 20 of the regiment's 50 backliners. The ensign is Second Lieutenant Stephen Seagrave. He's an Army rackets doubles champion, so he's a good strong wrist. As number 3 guard approaches Her Majesty the Queen, the music changes to the slow march of the Grenadier Guards, Scipio. Numbers 4 and 5 guards, manned by the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards, march past to the garb of Old Gaul. Guard, found by the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, march past to Men of Harlem. Number 7 and 8 guards, by the 1st Battalion Coaching Guards. They march past to the regimental slow march, Figaro. The adjutant, Captain James Stockford, Irish Guards, commissioned on his 19th birthday 8 years ago. Been adjutant since December 1986. This is his last day in that role. He's wearing the sword of the regiment's 4th colonel, the Earl of Camp, which he will hand on to his successor as adjutant early this afternoon. Now, the new rifles that you've seen being marched past the Queen at the Slope Arms for the first time in 29 years are quite heavy. They are nearly 11 pounds in weight, and you will see that now, as frequently through this parade, the arms are changed, and a very smart movement it is too. The field officer salutes Her Majesty and rides back across the parade ground to give the command to change into the march past in quick time. The music is trumpet voluntary. two quick marches. The first, a tribute to the Coldstream Guards, Northumbrian airs, followed by Men of Wales, a tribute to the Welsh Guards. And I wonder if you'll notice, as many people here seem to have done, that the old slope arms has brought back a very smart marching position, the chest out, the head held high, and these guards seem to march past with a swing. Regimental quick march of the Irish Guards. St. Patrick's Day. Guard, found by the 2nd Battalion Grenadier Guards, marches past to the British Grenadiers. Quite a task, Senior Drum Major, to get all these tune changes. Number 4 and 5 Guards, found by the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards, march past to Heelan Laddie. Rising of the Lark, the regimental quick march of the Welsh Guards. Number 7 and 8 Guards, found by the 1st and coaching guards march past to Milanoro. March Guards Armoured Division, and the 7th Colonel of the Irish Guards, His Royal Highness the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, who's on parade today, served with the 3rd Armoured Battalion in Guards Armoured Division until the relief of Brussels. He was awarded the 3945 Star, the France-Germany Star, the Defence Medal and the War Medal. Field officer moves back from the dais to take him out of the parade. Mass bands move away from the saluting place as the pipes and drums of the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards and the drums and pipes of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards play the tune Field Marshal Alexander. Alexander of Tunis was the 5th Colonel of the Irish Guards. The horses of the Household Cavalry glad to be on the move as the massed mounted bands take the parade ground. Beyond us, nearest to us, the drum horse of the Life Guards, 8-year-old, black and white, given to the regiment in March 1986 by Her Majesty the Queen. positions in state dress. The director of music is Major Tomlinson, who joined the Army 31 years ago as a musician, commissioned in 1979. And the march is Aida. Belisarius, the drum horse of the Blues and Royals, carrying drums given to the Royal Horse Guards by King George III on St. George's Day 1805 in recognition of their honourable military conduct on all occasions. The drums of the Life Guards, presented by William IV on the 23rd of July 1831. They weigh 98 pounds each, almost 100 weight that is, or over 44 kilograms if you're an air traveller, and are draped in the magnificent drum banners embroidered with the Royal Coat of Arms, sovereign's standard of the Blues and Royals. It also carries the Royal Coat of Arms and 45 of the combined regiment's 100 battle honours. Guards slope arms and will present arms to honour the sovereign standard of the Blues and Royals. The Blues Slow March, the regimental slow march of the Royal Horse Guards of the Blues. Prince William agog above. Field officer of the escorts, Major White Spanner, Squadron Leader of the Blues and Royals Mounted Squadron. Escort commanders, Captain Mountain. The standard is carried by Squadron Corporal Major Davis. Joined the regiment 19 years ago. Later this month becomes Regimental Quartermaster Corporal at Knightsbridge. Trumpeter on the grey and the coverer on the other side of the standard banner. So the 1st and 2nd divisions of the Sovereign's escort have walked past. And now you'll hear the change of music to the Life Guards slow march. Life Guards in scarlet tunics with blue and gold facings, white metal cuirasses. Farriers at the rear, Farrier Thomas of the Life Guards with the black plume, Farrier Lance Corporal Smith, the Blues and Royals. When on ceremonial duties or on guard, all members of the Household Cavalry carry drawn swords. This is the Royals Slow March, the Regimental Slow March of the Royal Dragoons, amalgamated in 1969 with the Royal Horse Guards, the Blues, to form the Blues and Royals. Trooper Walding on Kerry sounds the trot, and almost before he's finished, the horses are off. The trot is Corelia by Sibelius. And That will be followed by Sullivan on Horse Guards. Rather an innovation, that, for a household cavalry trot. The Guards again present arms as the sovereign's standard of the Blues and Royals is carried past Her Majesty. The regimental trot is the keel row. The Blues and Royals wear blue tunics with red and gold facings, plumes of red yak hair, chin straps worn under the chin. Helmets have been worn since 1842. The Life Guards have plumes of white nylon, chin strap worn under the lower lip, like the chin stays of Foot Guards, bearskins. Well over 200 horses in parade, 179 from Hyde Park Barracks of the Household Cavalry Regiment. They were groomed for 5 or 6 hours yesterday, and this morning they've been attended since 6 a.m. and saddled by 9:30 this morning. All the horses are over 16 hands high, that is 5 feet 4 at the shoulder. They're 6 to 16 years old, and they're mostly from Ireland, although this year the Household Cavalry have purchased 8 from East Germany. Major Tomlinson salutes. The drummers, the kettle drummers, cross their sticks. The Life Guards, drum horse Leonidas, presented to the regiment in 1986 March by Her Majesty the Queen. And the kettle drummer is one of the most experienced in the business, Band Corporal Major Harman. This is his last trooping after 22 years in the army. He's played the kettle drum on most birthday parades since 1972. His father did the same job for 14 years, from 1948, and he has a 9-year-old son called after the drum horse Alexander, so he may be there playing the kettle drum on Horse Guards in 1998. The last rank of the massed mounted bands, the clarinet players, ride on greys. The rest are on black horses. Leonidas is 8 years of age. That's the piebald, black and white, nearest to us. Belisarius is 9 years old, and he's a Clydesdale, the Household Cavalry's first Clydesdale drum horse. And this is his 3rd Queen's Birthday Parade. Greetings on her official birthday to Her Majesty the Queen from the 7 regiments of the Household Division to their Colonel-in-Chief.
Left and right! First!
The 8 Guards, left and right dress in close order. The massed mounted band moves off the parade ground. Musicians in their splendid state dress. Two Royal Colonels, the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Edinburgh. Colonel of the West Guards, Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. Duke of Edinburgh now the senior colonel. And the Royal Colonels and many other old soldiers watching from the stands would have watched with interest the new drill movements, and obviously from their smiles they approved. The 8 Guards are now forming into divisions for the march off. They used to form into, each guard used to form into 3 divisions. This made for a very long column. As the corps of drums play Prussian Glory, the 8 Guards close up. They close into close column before moving off, so that they provide that flowing stream of scarlet down the bow. Otherwise, there was a very long column in the old days, and the rear of the parade found it quite difficult to hear the beat of the drum and the mass bands on the long journey back to Buckingham Palace. So cavalry move up the approach road under the flags of the Commonwealth nations, the 48 nations. What a lovely mixture of colour, the green of the trees in St. James's Park, the shining cuirasses and helmets. Guards, shoulder arms, and stand at ease. The Sergeant Major's plate stick is brought back to him. The pace is 30 inches. And the Guards march at 116 paces to the minute. The field officer in brigade waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Wilson, rides up to Her Majesty the Queen.
Your Majesty's Guards are ready to march off now.
Permission has been granted to march off, and meantime, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, rides back to Buckingham Palace with the Princess of Wales and Prince William. And all her guests will follow her back, past her own home to the right of the Mall, Clarence House, and on to Buckingham Palace and that balcony that she knows so well. In the approach road, the garrison sergeant major, Perry Mason, as is inevitably known in the Guards division, 6'6" in his stocking soles, and an imposing figure. He waits to give the signal to the field officer that all is clear for the Guards to march off. The ivory-mounted phaeton has been brought to in front of the deers, and the Queen has been handed a brolly just in case by her equerry. And the Queen will, of course, ride at the head of her guard. In the march-off procession, officers of the Foot Guard and colonels of the Foot Guard regiment accompany Her Majesty. The Duke of Edinburgh, who in the foreword to General Sir Michael Gower's wonderful new book about trooping the colour, said that when he rode in parade in Field Marshal's uniform, which one and only time was 1953, which was the only time he saw the Queen's birthday parade. The reason being that under the fringe of the bearskin, which you have to keep forward when you're riding a horse, it's like looking at the parade through torrential rain. So now the massed bands move off to soldiers as something about a soldier. The Queen will ride immediately behind the massed bands of the Guards division. The field officer rides over to join His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. They're immediately behind the Queen. I don't know about changing the guard at Buckingham Palace, but they certainly will be marching past the Buckingham Palace soon when they arrive back there. There's a half an hour march back to barracks for these men who've been on parade this morning. The 1st Battalion and the Grenadier Guards are serving with BAR in Germany, as are the 1st Battalion Scots Guards. We think of them, who are not here today, and the 2nd Battalion Coaching Guards is in Cyprus. But otherwise, what a marvellous turnout of Guards regiments here. A great and special occasion. The Grand Duke of Luxembourg and the Prince of Wales behind